Welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, I'm live from the West Coast from San Diego, Gail Falcanthala Community Digital News. After being out for a while, he hasn't been on here for a while. Jay Dill is back.
Yep.
Joining us live from Trinidad, What You Need. And lastly, joining us live from Taiwan, Sean Newton. What's going on, ladies and gents?
Good evening. It's been a good week of boxing and lots to review.
Yeah, baby.
Absolutely. For those who are new to the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report is a live YouTube show /podcast/blog that discusses all things boxing. The motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When boxing is bad, we will talk about it. The bottom line is if it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. If you want to find more information about the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, one main place you want to go to, that's the blog page. P4pboxingreport.wordpress.com is the link where you'll find articles and videos and whatnot, not only done by yours truly, but also by special contributors Gail Falkenthal as well as Kayla M. Lewis on Twitter, KBC Live on G Plus and YouTube. If you look to the right of the blog page, you will find links to where to find Pound for Pound Boxing Report all over social media, all over the internet, all over the interwebs. Links to find us on Podomatic, where you can find previous episodes of the podcast. Links to find us on Facebook, Tumblr, G+, Twitter, YouTube. We got a Pinterest board. You can check us out there. Links to find us the RSS feed if you want to subscribe to that. Link to find us on Stitcher Radio. Pound for Pound Boxing Report is on Stitcher Radio. Just do a quick search of boxing. You should find us there. If not, just look up Pound for Pound Boxing Report, POUND, the number 4, POUND Boxing Report. You should find us. And lastly, a link to where you can find us on Flipboard Magazine. We got an online Flipboard Magazine. Just go there to just look up boxing. You should find Pound for Pound Boxing Report. Let's get the show started tonight, ladies and gents, by doing a recap of what happened this past weekend. A doubleheader on HBO in Las Vegas. Timothy Bradley scoring a ninth round TKO over Brandon Rios, who subsequently retired after the bout. Vasyl Lomachenko also scored an easy win over a guy by the name of Corsica. I want to focus on Bradley Rios first. I'm gonna go with you, Jay Dill, since you hadn't been here for a while. People have two different opinions on this bout. Either they talk about how impressive Bradley was. Bradley, for those who don't know, switched trainers from Joe Diaz Jr. to Teddy Atlas. They either think Bradley was very impressive and put one of the finest performances of his career, or a lot of folks talk about the lack of conditioning on Brandon Rios, who retired after the bout. He came in overweight. He looked bloated, as far as I'm concerned, at the weigh-in. He jumped all the way from 147 up to 170 fight when he entered the ring. He just didn't look right. He didn't have the sharpness. After the bout, he says his body wasn't there anymore. He's going to retire. Your assessment of what down? Personally, I think it's a little combination of both. Bradley did some things in there, new things in there with Atlas that we really hadn't seen before. But on the other hand, let's just face it, Rios, he wasn't there mentally or physically coming in, and it showed in how he fought. Your thoughts?
I'm just gonna be honest. Like, if I was a fan of Rios like that, I'd be pissed after weeks before the fight. This is the best training camp, in the best shape. I'm really focused. Hearing all these statements in general, and then see him in the weight in 2 ounces of a pound of making it, and he fails that, then comes back sooner, looks like a skeleton, weight drained, and he blows up to 170, which is disgusting for a fighter in their discipline. So I'm going to be honest with you. When I saw him on Dante's Boxing Nation 2 days before the weigh-in, I knew Bradley was going to win. Real to the style because of how Bradley fights that style, but my heart, my intuition said Bradley. But when I saw that weigh-in, I mean not the weigh-in, but that interview of how weight trained, how pale he looked, I just knew he was going to outbox him. But I'm going to be honest, Bradley looked sharp in his combinations. He looked sharp going to the body and sidestepping with the right hand to the body, or just land on angles. The only thing Bradley needs to work on is his strength training, and to when he steps back, keep his hands up.
Right.
Yeah, So, I mean, if he could work on a little bit of that type of stuff, polish a little bit of his strength training, I think Bradley would be even more effective than what he is right now. Another thing, Brandon Rios in this fight, I think the first round, Bradley with his jab and his shots, his body were pretty sharp, where it kept him honest for a while. And Bradley, he don't need to keep fighting guys of who are Mexican on the inside because that's their culture. That's how they train. That's how they're conditioned to fight from the inside. And as you can see, Bradley's not stronger than Rios. And Rios landed in the second round. And after that, Bradley did his thing, and it was fun to watch. I just think Bradley's speed, his jab, the control of geography, engage when he wanted to, fight on the outside when he wanted to, and just have Rios just reset time in, time out, and clinch with him and smother his offense where Rios could never set his shots. Made Rios look like he didn't belong in the ring, and eventually he just wear him down with body shots and murder she wrote. And that was a beautiful performance overall and complete balance effort that we ain't seen in years from Bradley since Marquez. So Timothy Bradley, after 2 years, showed us that why he's one of the guys that you should talk about at 147. And I enjoyed it, but nobody expected a knockout from Bradley because everybody makes fun of his, his punching power and everything. And for that to happen, we were like, what, against Rios? The first guy to do it to Rios, and it was Bradley of all people? You couldn't pay me $1 million to believe that, but it happened. So, yeah, in boxing, it needs to happen. That's he knocked out Rios, so that made me believe in that quote.
Exactly. EJ Boxing Live is just joined us. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing, guys?
Hang in there, man. Hang in there. I'm gonna go to you next, and then I'm gonna follow up with Sean and Sean, and then Gail. The thing I also like that knew that what we saw from Bradley, he did an Orlando Canizales move where he would throw like a 1-2 or follow up with the jab instead of just stepping to the side. He would shift his whole body to another angle to set himself up to the left hook, either to the head or body. That's an old Orlando Canizales move. That's an old Johnny Tapia move. Again, I'm gonna go to you, EJ, and then you, Gail, and Sean. Your thoughts on Timothy Bradley? You said last week that it was pretty much going to be an easy win for Bradley, and it showed up to be. And once, to J. Dale's point, once you saw Rios at the weigh-in, he looked so drained and emaciated at the weigh-in, but when you saw him fight night, he looked so bloated and waterlogged and heavy. You just knew that the bout was going to be even that much easier for Timothy Bradley, who basically had his way and did everything he wanted.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, when I heard the weight thing, I was thinking about the Providnikov, like coming in really big, and I was like kind of worried for Bradley that he'll be kind of small. But as the fight ensued, yeah, Teddy Atlas he's a proper teacher, man. He kept Bradley to the game plan, and that was critical for Bradley to do that. And the thing is about these sort of things, like, he kept Bradley so focused that Bradley, like, what do they say, water, what's it? Pressure breaks pipes. That's what that was. It was consistent pressure, breaking him down round by round by round, using his skills. He's fast, but then he was just breaking him down, and he got a stoppage. You'd never expect him to stop Brandon Rios. He's a strong guy, always comes forward, and he broke him, and he said he's retired. And it's like, wow, Tim Bradley, people used to laugh at him. He looks physically strong but has no power. But it shows you if you keep pressuring, and especially when Bradley was at 140, he still not stopped quite a few guys. He kept breaking them down, and that was a masterclass of a performance, and took advantage of the guy who came in out of shape.
Yeah, and he went to the body early and exploited that soft gut.
Yeah, exactly, but Brandon Rios is really his best weight was at lightweight, and even Tim Bradley at 140, but. Man, that was a masterclass of just basically showing we're different levels in boxing and showing where Bradley is. When Bradley's focused, and that's what he can do. And from that performance, people expect big things from him. You know, there's loads of big fights out for him, and we all expecting to see it. And right now, you know, we're looking for on the void of Mayweather leaving. Can Bradley be that dude? Can Bradley be the guy to be the #1 guy? Maybe he said it was a couple of fights, maybe, but I tell you what, I put Bradley in there with anyone right now. Maybe rematch with Pacquiao. He's already beat he already outscored Marquez, but Kell Brook, and I mind seeing Kell Brook there. Amir Khan, that fight should happen at 140. Possibilities are endless. And I tell you what, the future looks bright for Tim Bradley. Might have to wear some shades like Gail, man, right there. Yeah, so that's my take, man. Go ahead, Gail.
We're gonna talk about the future for Bradley in a bit. I'm gonna go to you, Gail, then you can follow up, Sean. Thoughts on Bradley and how he looked? Let me hear it.
What a difference from having seen him at StubHub in California in June against Jesse Vargas, where he nearly lost the fight due partially to just some bad habits and lack of discipline. Teddy Atlas, we aren't going to know for a few more fights exactly how much credit to give Teddy Atlas, but based on what I saw and the main change between the last fight and this fight being the presence of Teddy Atlas, I got to give some of the credit at least to Teddy for keeping Tim focused. You know, Tim didn't lose a round of that fight, but nevertheless, every few rounds, and in particular after the 7th where we got that epic "We are firemen" speech, Teddy's job was to keep Tim's head around and focused, and you could just see Tim, his eyes were, had a lock on Teddy. He was focused. He kept Tim to the plan, and that's always what Bradley is needed to do. I also liked what Bradley had to say after the fight, which was when he saw Rios come in, barely make weight, and then came back in so bloated from rehydration. He knew he could go right to the body and do damage, and that's exactly what he did. Of the 240, 250 power punches he threw, 88 were body shots. That is a smart fighter who sticks to the plan, wears him down. Rios, he seemed to have little appetite for the fight. We know that he occasionally, is lazy, but boy, he just, he's lost his passion for it. It's a shame to see it. I think announcing that he should retire. Rios has no filter. He never has. And what you get is just whatever is going on with him. He can't hide it. And I think it was a good decision. Whether he sticks with it, who's to say? But he'd been out of the ring a long time. He'd let himself get way out of shape. He's not one of these guys like a Bradley, like a Floyd Mayweather, like a Golovkin, who basically stay in pretty good condition year-round. He'd gone up, I heard, to as much as 180, 85, 90 pounds. And, that is way too much for a guy that size. And you can't rehydrate overnight up to 170 unless your body has the capacity to do it, if it's got the memory for it, which means he was way up there. So I realize, as much as I would love it, we're never ever going to go back to same day of fight weigh-ins. But I would like to see the sanctioning bodies impose a 60-day out weigh-in, a 30-day out weigh-in, and a week out weigh-in, and maybe a sliding scale percentage rehydration clause, just so we have guys that are somewhat close in the weight class when they get in the ring. Because this was ridiculous.
WBC, either the BC or the IBF, I believe it's the BC, actually does 30-day out weigh-ins.
Yeah, the WBC absolutely does, and you'll get reports from them prior to fight cards with the weights reported, and frequently the promoters do report the weights as well. I like that. I wish it was imposed across the board.
Sean, what you need? Your thoughts on the bout?
I don't want to take any credit away from Bradley. I thought he did what he needed to do. He was great. I think people were questioning how Teddy Atlas was going to work with him and if it was going to be beneficial or not. And like I've been saying, I mean, at this point of his career, any change was going to be helpful, just to re-energize him and give him a fresh perspective on things. And you could see that this is what happened during this fight. I mean, he looked more focused. He did some things differently. I mean, he still looked like he was going to fall into old bad habits at times, but I mean, you know, he is a top level fighter. So even his bad habits haven't really been that big of a deal throughout his career, except, you know, in the Vargas fight he was sort of exposed by almost getting stopped late. Even though, I mean, he's got a chin, so was that fight really going to get stopped, or was it just a typical sort of Tim Bradley moment? But I thought he looked good. I mean, he did what he needed to do. He was impressive. And I can't take anything away from him because, I mean, Rios is who he is. He's no different. This was no different than he was at lightweight. He's never been able to make weight. He's always been drained before fights, and he's always ballooned up big, and he's used that as his advantage. But in this case, that advantage didn't work for him. It was a thing that actually stopped him because he was too soft in the middle, and I mean, he wasn't able to take it, and he was stopped late by the light-punching Bradley, who was smart to go to his body, like people have been saying. I mean, you know, Bradley's always been one of the top elite fighters at 147, and it's good that based on this fight, he's getting a little bit of accolade to push him back up after a few less-than-stellar performances, and hopefully we can see him get in the ring with a guy like Brook, or even a Pacquiao 3 fight. But, you know, going up to fight Canelo at 154, I mean, financially I could see why he would do it, but it doesn't seem to be the fight that he needs to take. I mean, that's not going to help his career as far as longevity goes.
What you need if you're there, unmute your mic. And I don't know if you can hear us, Jacob Rivera. He's a dude. He's always following. He's always retweeting my stuff on YouTube. Big fan of the show. I want you to comment on the bout as well. But first, what you need. You was telling us that you're going to see some new things from Timothy Bradley with Teddy Atlas in the corner. We saw that, and I mentioned the pivot move, the Canizales pivot move, which he would shift his whole body, almost kind of hide from fighters, and he did that against Brandon Rios. Your thoughts? What you need?
Yeah, there's a number of things that I'm going to have to speak quietly because.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, there are a number of things that Timothy Bradley did in there. Very sharp movements. The first one I noticed was when he got on the inside, you would see that he would go to the side of Brandon Rios and turn him. He constantly turned Brandon Rios, and he also approached Brandon Rios at an angle. He went what we call weak side. That is to say, he went to Brandon Rios' left,
right,
and he blinded him with the jab, and then he threw the overhand right over his shoulder. So he would always approach Brandon Rios at an angle. Even when he was moving around the ring, he would move to Brandon Rios' left, and then he would come in off the weak side of Brandon Rios as Rios was pivoting. Even on the inside again, his head was at an angle, and it was to Brandon Rios' head. He was on Brandon Rios' shoulder. That's to prevent Brandon Rios from countering him and hitting him on the chin or on the neck. Now, this is something Andre Ward, Bernard Hopkins, they all apply this technique, and you can tell this is a signature Teddy Atlas technique because Teddy Atlas trains all his trainers. If you look at even the southpaw, I forgot.
I disagree with that. We'll move on.
Do you know the southpaw, the heavyweight champion? I forgot his name now.
Michael Moore.
Michael Moore. Now, Michael Moore, he was a southpaw, unfortunately, but on the inside, it's a defensive move. You create. Henry Armstrong did it, where you don't go into the chest of your opponent necessarily, but you go to the side of your opponent. This is to prevent your opponent from throwing punches. And as the opponent leverages a punch or they throw a punch, you actually move with the opponent. I think Mayweather also did that against Marcos Maidana, but Marcos Maidana, he had a way of throwing an uppercut, which would cause you to have to shift your body out of position from staying in close. But basically what you do is you clinch your opponent's arm, so there's an arm that's underneath your arm, and that way you can move with your opponent. As your opponent moves, you move with them. So Bradley basically looked like a sort of like an Andre Ward in there when he was in close with Brandon Rios, and then he's actually the physically stronger dude in that fight. So he was able to push Brandon Rios away from the ropes or towards the ropes and actually back Brandon Rios up on the inside. So these are some things that Timothy Bradley didn't really make use of before in his career. The other things that were again signature Teddy Atlas sort of things is where when you're fighting from a distance, Teddy Atlas says, you get the angle, that is, you feint your body, you go to your left. So it's like you slide heavy to your left, is what I would say. You slide heavy to your left, but you throw the lead right. So instead of throwing the left hook or the left uppercut or a spear jab, what you would probably do is throw the lead right straight down the middle and catch your opponent. So there were just all these little subtle things. When I was looking at oh my gosh, I keep on blanking out, but when I was looking at Timothy Bradley in training, he looked different. He looked different in training. Now, Joel Diaz did a hell of a job with him in his career, but Timothy Bradley mentally wasn't as focused, and also he wasn't doing certain things to prevent himself from getting countered by his opponents before. He would just kind of be more of a very athletic guy, and he wouldn't think about somebody counterpunching him per se. In this fight, he was thinking about getting counterpunched. Even on the inside, you notice how he shifts the body weight one side or the other side. He didn't come straight on. You know, he'd always come side on. I love what he was doing to Brandon Rios, using his shoulder to push Brandon Rios back. It's very interesting, all these subtle things he was doing in that fight. You know, his footwork was actually pretty good as well, very economical, lots of nice feints. I liked when he threw that quintuplet or whatever, 5 left hooks, almost all 5 landed. And again, he started sliding across Brandon Rios, and then he threw those 5 left hooks. Wonderful stuff to begin the fight. Again, saying, I'm not going anywhere, I'm coming at you, but I'm coming at you in a way where you can't just counter me like that. So there was a lot of things he did to kind of offset Brandon Rios. He was concentrating on fighting smart. He fought smart. He didn't. Another thing I liked about what he did, if you look at the body shots that he was throwing, the body shots, not only did he have his guard up so he didn't get countered with those body shots, but the timing of the body shots I thought was interesting. You know, Timothy Bradley usually, and even how he threw them was very interesting. You know, Timothy Bradley, when I saw him fight against Diego Chavez, he wasn't throwing those punches properly. He was rushing the punches. He was forcing the punches. You know, in this fight, he actually had proper timing and placement. You know, Timothy Bradley generally slaps with his hands. He wasn't slapping, and I love that. So, you know, there's just a ton of things I could talk about that I saw in that fight. He did get hit a couple of times, though. But for the most part, very good boxing on his part. A clinic.
Yeah,
I think in the second round he hurt Brandon Rios with that left hook to the solar plexus, and Brandon Rios actually buckled. He went down, and then somewhere later on in the fight he hit him, and Brandon Rios was kind of saying that he got hit low, but he actually got hit on the belt line, and I realized, okay, so I realized that Timothy Bradley stored that up in his head, like he said, and he said I was going to work the head so he wouldn't think about a body shot and then surprise him with the body shot. And it really worked. It really worked. He wasn't prepared for that body shot.
Yeah, absolutely. The reason I said I disagree with that when you say signal to Teddy Atlas, it's not necessarily as much a Teddy Atlas move as much as it was a Customato move, because that's who we got it from. You got that from Customato, and there were other trainers and there were other fighters before. Yeah. You watch, for instance,
of course.
Go back to Orlando Canizales, his first fight with Kevin Seabrooks. He did that kind of move all night long. Tappy used to do it early in his career. There are other fighters to do it. So
of course, what I'm saying though is that Teddy Atlas does train his fighters to do that move. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And that's Teddy Atlas's influence on Timothy Bradley, right?
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's duly noted.
The other thing that is going to be an enormous plus for Bradley is it helps him avoid the headbutting problems that he's always had.
Right.
He's going to shift over to the side like that. He's going to avoid it, which, if he fights Pacquiao, is going to be really important.
And Teddy Atlas told him to step and then punch. Yeah. You have to step before, because he usually leans in. He punches before he steps. He just kind of goes head in. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got that big noggin, and he's always banging it with somebody. So that solves the problem, which is one he's had his entire career.
Let me try to get Jacob in here. I'll mute your mic, Jacob, and see if we can hear you this time. Can you hear? Say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Quickly, your thoughts on Bradley's win over Brendan Rios, his stoppage over Brendan Rios, I should say.
Yeah, I thought it was a combination of two things. One, Bradley did look really good, but Rios looked terrible. Rios kind of reminded me how Alvarado looked when he fought Rios in their third fight, where the fight was already over before the fight started. He looked terrible at the weigh-ins, and I think Robert Garcia's camp is becoming notorious for their fighters not making weight. I think Gail made a good point on ensure that they're making weight throughout their camp, and that it's checked on, and then they have to meet those requirements. I mean, it's part of the job. Probably one of the most important parts of the job is making weight, and the unprofessional manner in which these fighters do that. I think it's kind of like the boxing gods punish them for that, for not complying with what they're supposed to do. But I mean, Bradley did look really good. I have to give a little bit of credit to Atlas, but again, I agree that we have to see them in a few more fights to see what this relationship's going to how fruitful it's going to be. But again, it's a combination of Rios just looking terrible, and I don't think Rios is going to stay retired. I mean, no disrespect to him, he doesn't seem like the brightest guy in the world, but he doesn't have any commentary skills. He's not going to be training fighters and opening his own gym, because his fighting style is all brawling and hard, and you don't really train that. You can't teach that. So I have a feeling we're going to see him, like all the boxers before him, not retire. He's going to run out of money and come calling back, and unfortunately we'll probably see him get beat again.
I'm going to open it up to everybody here. EJ, Sean talked about the future of Tim Bradley, what could be up possibly next. Talk about a third fight with Pacquiao. I can't remember who it was. I think Sean mentioned Kell Brook. I love that fight as well. The fight I do not like is what they were talking about during the fight, which is a possible matchup with Canelo Alvarez, particularly if he was to win against Miguel Cotto in November. Look, I mean, he's a small welterweight in my opinion, while Canelo Alvarez is essentially a middleweight who's fighting down at 155. I don't care what he says. He's lying when he says he needs 2 years to adjust to the middleweight division. He just lying. Don't insult our intelligence that way. I mean, should that fight happen, what was the catch weight? How could that fight happen? So
yeah, that's ridiculous. It's the same ridiculous stuff with people talking about Golovkin and Andre Ward. Andre Ward's going up to super or light heavyweight. I mean, weight classes exist for a reason. The other fight I would rather not see is another Marquez fight, because there's rumors about whether he's really retired or not.
He would beat Marquez again. He may stop Marquez if they fight again.
I think he would beat him down worse. So I don't need to see that. I'm not interested. I do think if we don't see Mayweather and Pacquiao 2 opening up the new arena in Vegas, I think we'll see Pacquiao Bradley.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead. And Pacquiao's got that date absolutely locked in. April 9th is his next and presumably his final fight, because he's up against the election cycle in the Philippines, so his actual day job of being an elected congressman, and he's running for Senate, so it's just like in the United States, it's a step up politically on his way to someday being president of the Philippines. So all that said, Bradley may factor in there. I think he'll be happy to sit back, let his promoters do what they need to do, and he'll be ready, whoever it is.
Okay, anybody and everybody, chime in, please.
I'll jump in.
The future of Timothy Bradley.
I talked to Bradley straight after his loss against Pacquiao, and he said like he was just trying to knock him out. It was me and 78 Sports. We talked directly after him, straight after, and he said he was just trying to knock Pacquiao out. He did, and this is the thing, like his game plan was trying to knock him out because of all the fans and what people been saying about him. But when he comes in focus, man, I'll be honest with you, he maybe have to stop Pacquiao or beat him, put him in a clinic. The reason why I say that because of Pacquiao's state of mind at the moment after the Mayweather. I don't know, Pacquiao doesn't do well with losses, especially after Morales. He had excuses after there. The Marquez, not really when Marquez knocked him out. Pacquiao doesn't do well with losing, so it depends on Pacquiao's state of mind. And to go straight in with a Bradley, I'd favor Bradley in that fight. I really would. Bradley focused the way he is right now, I'd favor Bradley. And I think, Pacquiao knows the Mayweather fight was his biggest fight on the horizon, biggest payday. But can he get himself up for a Bradley fight when he's felt that he beat Bradley in the first fight, he beat him in the second fight? Will Pacquiao be focused and would his mind be on the job? I know Bradley would be with Teddy Atlas. We're firefighters. What do firefighters do? You know what I'm saying?
We are firemen.
Yeah, we're firemen. Yeah. He's going to be coming. So they're coming to the fire. They're coming into the fire. So I don't know if Pacquiao is going to be coming into the fire at this point in time. So at this moment in time right now, I'm favoring Dennis Storms and Bradley. So that's my take on that.
I'm going to jump in. Let's just be honest. Nobody wants to really bring it up. In those two fights, Bradley was injured after 2 rounds, 3 rounds, or 4 rounds, and he still finished the fights with Pacquiao. Now, usually when you have some disadvantages against Pacquiao and he didn't finish you or he didn't damage you, you got some skills or something. So I for once want to see 100% Timothy Bradley fight Manny Pacquiao, because people use Pacquiao's shoulder injury as an excuse for the Mayweather thing. So nobody ever with Bradley injuries with Pacquiao, but neither here nor there. The fights I want to see Bradley in are fights with Kell Brook as EJ.
There you go.
Or Amir Khan. That'll be a good fight. I mean, it's entertaining if you consider the styles. Or a fight against Keith Thurman, if that could possibly happen. It'll be a tough fight for Bradley, but Thurman's the type of fighter he likes to use his traps so he can get you at the spot so he can tee off on you with his hands and stuff. And he makes you think that you're dictating the pace, and then that's when he'll lunge in and just throw shots at you and stuff. Bradley could do what Colossal did, turn him around and throw a body shot, but Bradley could possibly finish Thurman.
Yeah, I was going to say, Thurman, he in the midst of doing that, he often leaves himself open.
And a skillful veteran fighter could exploit that. But the Sean Porter fight, that would be a sloppy fight for me to want to watch. Saddam Ali, I just think he's not ready for the caliber of Bradley. He ain't had a 12-round fight yet. Sammy Vasquez Jr., that's an entertaining fight, but I don't know if the Sergeant is ready for the Desert Storm yet. Philip Bundu, it'll be tough. It'll be a boring fight in a way because of their styles. And Danny Garcia, that'll be a good fight, but who knows? So overall, Kell Brook, Amir Khan are my favorite fights for Bradley, and maybe a Providnikov rematch because the storylines with Joel Diaz against Teddy Atlas, plus the Fight of the Year Part 2. That's why I like it.
That's a possibility. There's one fight we'll definitely not see. We will not see him against Terrence Crawford. Crawford and Bradley are friends, and they've said, nope, we will not step in the ring together. It's kind of like the Klitschko brothers. It's not going to happen. The guy who really wants him is Jesse Vargas. And I got into it with Jesse after the fight, who said, hey, I want my shot back at him. I deserve another shot at him. Well, sorry, Jesse, I like you, but nobody wants to see it. It was a boring fight.
You know what? Bradley would do the same thing he did in the first 11 rounds, except be better. He will not get set up for that right hand like he did the first time. Bradley will have
Absolutely.
boxer shoes off again.
I made a comment. Well, what unfortunately got me started with Jesse is I made a comment on social media that if that version of Bradley had fought Vargas in June, he would have wiped the floor with him. And Vargas took offense to that and decided to have a conversation with me, a polite one, and he feels he deserves a chance. He was at the post-fight news conference calling out Bradley. You know, if they can't make any other fight and they just want to keep Bradley active, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. I would prefer not to. The other possibility, which I don't think is the best idea, but I could see it happening, is that they feed Antonio Orozco to Bradley. Orozco fought on the undercard of the Bradley Vargas fight in June, is a Southern Californian, could easily be made. They could do it at StubHub. They only need to sell, 6,000, 7,000 seats for that place to be almost full. I could see that happening. But I don't think that's the best thing for Orozco. But Orozco has a O on his record, so they could justify it.
Let's bring Sean, Jacob, what you need into this discussion. The future of Timothy Bradley, where do you see him going?
Go ahead. I was going to say, Tim Bradley could beat any of the guys that Dill mentioned. He could very well beat Manny in the third fight. He could beat Thurman, because, he's a much more rounded fighter than Thurman is. He could beat Brook, whose only really challenge has been Porter, who's very one-dimensional. And, he's never faced anybody like Bradley. So, obviously Brook is bigger, but, that is his one advantage, really. And then, who else? Oh, Kong. And that's a fight that they've been talking about since 140. So seeing it at 147, it's a fight that would sell, and based on styles, it would be a good fight. I would say that might be one of the harder fights for Bradley, because Khan's speed and the fact that he's going to fight from the outside, it might make it much more difficult for Bradley. But all of those fights, Bradley could easily win all of them, or he could lose. They're all competitive, and they're all fights we'd like to see. Obviously, the guys with Heyman are fights we probably won't see, but a Brook fight or a Khan fight, those fights are very possible.
Yeah, I like the Brook idea. I think that's a good idea. I think another one, Matisse after his loss. I think it'd be interesting, possibly exciting fight for throw him back in the mix and put in another good win on Bradley's record.
Even after he got stopped?
Yeah, he's gonna want to fight on, and he's still a name, I think, and he brings. The game plan they had against him, and there's questions around his training camp and his corner. I think it can provide an exciting fight. At least it would put butts in the seats. I think he's got a pretty good fan base. Bradley's, they can have it at the StubHub, or even somewhere here in the Southern California. I think it'd be a possibly exciting fight. And you have that storyline with him quitting on the last fight. But again, it's a name to put on his record, and he's going to want to stay active. Sean's right. None of the PBC fighters, we're not going to see any of those fights. That's not going to happen. But Top Rank and Golden Boy play nice together now, so we can see those. I prefer to see the Brook fight, but I also want to see, and I think it was Dill that said the Providnikov fight, just because of the storyline of Diaz and all the shit talking that Bradley's been doing towards Diaz, who's been with him that whole time. And it would be interesting, kind of like what happened at the StubHub with Mares and Gonzalez when he got schlepped in the first round. His former trainer, and he kind of had that upper hand. So I think that would be interesting, but I don't know that Providnikov has earned a shot at a championship fight, unfortunately.
What you need quickly, if you're around, unmute your mic and quickly give your thoughts on the future of Timothy Bradley.
Could fight a number of different fighters. Manny Pacquiao, he's a possible opponent now based on his win. They're looking at Terrence Crawford, and they're also looking at Amir Khan for Pacquiao, so we'll see what happens with that. Another good fight is Saddam Ali. He's a young guy. He's the mandatory for Timothy Bradley's title, so undefeated. So that's a golden boy prospect that could come up to the table in the future, and that's very feasible. The other person I was thinking about, I know you guys probably going to say, what, is Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley.
No.
Shane Mosley's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be. I think he's supposed to be contender for the super welterweight title sometime down the road. But he's also performs at welterweight. Now, again, he's a, he's not exactly the first name you would think of, but he is a name there. There's another one as well that I was looking at, which is where is he? Is he a top-ranked fighter? Because we're looking at top-ranked people as well, if they could do it in-house, right? Is Marcos Maidana a Golden Boy fighter, or is he a top-ranked fighter?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I have to look that up.
He's Golden
Isn't
Boy?
he PBC?
No, he's not PBC. He never fought on PBC. He fought on Showtime. But I think he's a gold. Is he not a Golden Boy fighter?
He's a Golden Boy guy. Yes, he
Right.
is. But he says he's retired.
Well,
Because he weighs 200 pounds.
He may actually come out of retirement to fight Timothy Bradley. I mean, he wanted to fight Manny Pacquiao, so I don't know. But that's another guy that's going to be an interesting fight if they were to pair up. But realistically speaking, though, I think Saddam Ali, Manny Pacquiao, those are more realistic. I think Amir Khan is another realistic one, but I think Khan's going for Pacquiao. I think that Pacquiao-Khan fight, I think that's the more likely fight to happen next year. Or maybe Pacquiao-Crawford is what they're talking about.
Yeah, that actually seems to be discussed, and that's a win-win for Top Rank, because either way, they get a winner out of it. So I do think that's what's going to happen there.
Now, the Porter fight versus Bradley, I was always intrigued by it because, to me, I know some people will disagree with me somewhat, but I thought Porter and Bradley had kind of a reckless attitude and a sort of will to win kind of attitude that made them both interesting. But I think this version of Bradley would probably beat Sean Porter. I think so. But that matchup might not be as ugly as you think. It's still an intriguing matchup for me. I would have loved to see it, but, I don't know if you'll see that. Yeah, so that's basically my thing. I would love to see Kell Brook versus Bradley as well, but I don't think that's likely to happen. But it would be nice if you could see it. A unification bout, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's move on and talk about the undercard bout. Vasyl Lomachenko scored a 10th round stoppage over a guy by the name of Koisic. I don't want to talk about the fight as that fight really. I want to talk about the future of Lomachenko, because let's face it, showcase bout for Lomachenko to show his skills. You knew as soon as he stepped on the gas that Koisic was done. I thought he could have stopped him sooner, but he took his time. He did what he had to do. He didn't really put full power into the punches until late when he stopped and went to the body and stopped him. I want to talk about the future of Lomachenko, and I'm just going to open it up for everybody. Talk of him fighting possibly Guillermo Rigondeaux, who we're going to talk about later. But you also hear from the Lomo camp of a move to 130. My problem is, if you're going to talk 130, I can hear him talking about the rematch with Salido. Okay, that's fine. But no mention of Walters at 130 at all, or Uchiyama, who's regarded as the man of that division. Why not? If Lomo wants to really prove himself, prove that he's the best, those are the two fighters he should be thinking about, or his camp should be thinking about fighting if he moves up indeed to 130 and the Rigondeaux fight does not happen. And again, I'm just going to open it up to everybody, and anybody can respond. The future of Vasyl Lomachenko.
About the 130 thing, I mean, he said inevitably that is where he's going to move, but he didn't put a timestamp on it that it's going to be current. He said that he still wants to beat the top guys at 126.
I'm not talking about the fighter himself. I'm talking about his camp. His camp was tantalizing that option, 130, and then not too far from future. not too distant future.
I don't know if they're tantalizing or if guys from 130 are calling him out, like Gamboa, who just came out to call him out recently. And Lomachenko was saying on Twitter, he's like, well, make it. Okay, no problem. But these guys called him out. I mean, as far as a current fight, I mean, the only person he's really been talking about has been Rigo. And even with Rigo's current thing that we're going to talk about later, that fight's still a possibility in the future. I mean, as we were talking about before, I mean, of course, you know, with PBC fighters, it's difficult. I mean, it's unlikely that he's going to get any of those fighters unless it's able to build up into such a big mega fight that it has to be made. But at these lower weights, that's not probably something that's really going to happen. So who does he really have to fight at 126? I mean, his options are limited. So, I mean, inevitably he's going to move to 130. And at that point, then obviously Walters is going to be a name that comes up. I mean, you know, they are on the same promotional company and everything else. But you don't hear Walters calling him out or Walters saying anything either. I mean, where has Walters been the last 6 months? He hasn't really been saying anything. And, you know, he's a guy who has a fight coming up sometime soon, I think. But you still don't hear anything from him or his camp. I mean, obviously we want to see Lomachenko step up again against another fighter. But a lot of people are ignoring the fact that he has called out people. I mean, they tried to make the Rigo fight, and Rigo's team turned it down. They even said they would take a rematch with Gary Russell, who said that he would beat them 99 times out of 100, and that hasn't been able to work out. Of course, we can understand why with promotional companies. But personally, I mean, I'm eager to see him move to 130 because there's less of a Heyman influence at that weight class. So then, I mean, a lot more possible fights we can see happen.
Well, to correct you somewhat, after the initial negotiations, Walters did say that he would fight Lomachenko, but he hasn't said it recently because he's been kind of incognito. But to be technically correct, he has said that he wants to fight him eventually. So again, I'm just going to open it up to everybody in the future. Lomo, anybody.
That was the fight though that was supposed to happen when Walters didn't make weight, and so I mean that fight was being talked about being set up, but Lomachenko said, well, he doesn't have the belt anymore, so the fight doesn't interest me. So I mean, part of the blame is Walters there. He didn't make the weight, and so he had to forfeit the belt, and so that fight just basically fell through.
Well, we've got a setup coming here, depending on what comes of the December 19th card that HBO has. That's the Ortiz-Jennings main event. You have Walters on that card against Jason Sosa, and you also have Gamboa on that card. He doesn't have a named opponent yet. So that, to me, is HBO doing a little test run of these guys, see where they are, and I think that you're going to see one of those winners of those two bouts up against Lomachenko in the early part of the year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they both win. They throw him in against Gamboa first, see where he stands, and they go from there. But now you have Rigo back in the mix, in theory. You know, if he has a good outing back on the undercard here on the 21st, he'd be ready in early year fight. We'll see what happens.
EJ, Dale, what you need, the future of Lomachenko, what you think?
Well, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, very simply put, he has a lot of fights he can have. I mean, I heard Nonito Donaire say that he's interested in fighting Vasyl Lomachenko, so that's one person right there. You got, and he's from Top Rank. They talk about Gamboa. You talk about maybe Rigondeaux. You also talk about Cuellar. Isn't Jesus Cuellar a champion as well?
At 22, I think.
No, at 26.
Okay, I could be wrong. I have to look it up. But go ahead.
22 is super bantamweight, right? So
yeah, 22 is super bantamweight.
So he's a featherweight. So he's one again that could also face Lomachenko. You know, I just want to say just one more thing. I want to say that I just love to watch Lomachenko box. I don't know about anybody else. I mean, just the way how he sets up those punches, man, it's beautiful. Okay, so that's all I want to say. Yeah.
EJ, Dale, if you're around, the future Loma, what you think?
I like to see him fight Lee Selby. That'll be a good fight. I think he'll beat Selby. I also like to see him fight Gamboa because I think he'll shut Gamboa out. He will whoop Gamboa's butt in a technical way. Other than that, Mariaga, I like to see that fight too. See how he do against Mariaga. And other than that, get a rematch with Salido if he can find a way to get that to happen, avenge his only loss in the professional ranks. And possibly see if he can get a Rigondeaux fight. And that's about it. What I can think for Lomachenko for right now.
Yeah. I was saying there, I think Lomachenko might be a bit overrated in terms of the competition he's been going against. I mean, the only notable names he's been against is Salido and Gary Russell Jr., who Gary Russell Jr. ain't really fought nobody. And Salido is a proven veteran, a mobile world champion, and you see, obviously, even though he hasn't had that many fights, I think a lot of people on his skill set against who? He really looked good against Gary Russell Jr., which is good. But, like, that one name, and they lost against Salido, other than that, what else is going on? The guys he's fighting Academy for, he's supposed to do what he's supposed to do. And it looks like an exhibition, like a boxing exhibition against these dudes we don't even know about. So, to me, I think, like, he's a bit, like, to me, a bit hyped up. Unless he goes against names, we can't really see how good he is. And right now, to me, I'm not even interested. And like a lot of people are going in on Andre Ward about the opponent's hit, but Andre Ward has fought names. And all of a sudden, this guy, Lomachenko, has been put up in the pound. Now, I got him up there in skill set. I've actually got him in my top 10. But boy, like, he's slowly fading out if he keeps fighting these opponents, man. These opponents are just cannon fodder. They ain't gonna, I mean, they ain't no good, man. There's some live body names in his division, and he needs to fight them. And that's what I want to see. So that's my take.
But he's only fought 6 fights, though.
So did what did Rigo do when Rigo had under 12 fights?
He has 14 fights, I think.
When he fought Rico Ramos, he had like near 7 fights. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but he had in his 3rd fight, he's fighting Gary Russell Jr.
Yeah, but the reason why, because he's had like 5. I mean, he wanted to get right in there, and that's what I'm trying to say. There's names in the opponent, there's names in the division, right? And you should be fighting them. There's no excuse. Like all them guys you're supposed to do that. So he's gonna look good against these guys are not that good. Now this is how it is. We know you have to fight a name opponent to look good against. Be another name, yeah, and you deserve the ranking. Right now, I can't really on that opponent, man. It was just like I'm not even interested because it's not no name. So you got Quigg and Frampton. I know they're not in the same division. They're lower, but in their names, they're gonna fight each other, and that's what we need. In other words,
EJ, what you're saying is, despite his limited numbers of fights, his talent supersedes that, and so you don't really need to hold him back that much.
No, exactly. That's my point. So that's why he went against Salido. And a lot of people had him favorite against Salido and that type of opponents. He beat Gary Russell. That was good. You see, he's mixing in with good competition. Since then, what's happening, man? What's happening? Like, come on, man. Like, these dudes he's going against, it's not good. I wasn't excited about his fight. I didn't really care. Until he fights some name, I'm not really interested, to be honest with you, until he fights another live opponent. So that's just my take.
It takes 2 to tango, though. I mean, if he can't get an opponent, then how can you really blame him for not fighting anybody?
I can blame him because Top Rank is a powerful promoter. There's no reason why he can't fight. Top Rank, they can get any fight in there. There's loads of names in there. There's some live bodies in his division. The fight with Waters wasn't Waters a Top Rank fighter, regardless of he couldn't make the weight. They could have done a catch weight. It doesn't matter. That's a name guy in your division. There's no reason why these fights can't be made. The same guy promotes you. The same guy promotes Waters. What's the excuse? There's no excuse.
The excuse is that 2 stars fight each other and one cancels the other out when he loses. They want 2 cash cows, not 1. I think they'd put Loma up against Donaire or another in-house fighter long before they'd put him up against Walters. Maybe they'd put him up against Rigo only because Rigo, first of all, isn't their guy, but Rigo doesn't make anybody any money because he's a purist fighter. So, they will just use him to see what they got. But I'll bet you anything we see Loma and Donaire. The more I think about it, Top Rank loves to keep that stuff in house and give guys like Donaire work to do.
That's true.
Plus, he lost the quick fight.
Exactly. They're talking about the quick fight. This is what I'm trying to say. Your options will get really thin, and you might be one of these guys when all the big. It's like when Bernard Hopkins was in the middleweight division, and all the superstars, James Toney, all the James, they just left the division, and Bernard Hopkins was deaf there. It was desolate. There was no one in the division. Lomachenko needs to try and get these names there to solidify himself, because the thing is, he's had a lot of amateur fights. Yeah, he can mix him with these guys, and he can be really good. His skill set is high enough, but I can't get credit of fighting these dudes, and I have no excuse. Top Rank are a very powerful thing, and regardless of if Rigo's boring or not, it doesn't matter. As a fight fan, you want to see that fight because you want to see the best, and that's the way I see it.
I can see EJ's point, especially since folks are hailing him as right now already one of the best fighters in the world, pound for pound. If you're going to keep doing that, eventually you're going to have to prove it against the big dog.
Eventually, but I don't know that eventually is next month or tomorrow.
But 2016 sometime, absolutely.
Late, yeah, second half of, I think, yes.
First of all, I don't think that Rigo is boring. Let me just let everybody know that. And second of all, I don't think that Loma is a pound for pound fighter right at this point in time. I mean, he hasn't had much fights, right?
I agree.
What I would say is, what I would say though is that what I'm saying is that I appreciate the beauty in fighting. Yeah, the guy's fighting a bum. We know that. But at the same, some people will disagree with me. But at the same time, I watch at his skill set. You guys talk about skills. This guy has crazy skills, man, and he does it so fast. You know what I'm saying? So that's all.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. And what I'm saying is
against Salido, he had no skills. In Gary Russell, he did. He shut Gary Russell down. So what I'm saying to you, against you can only check your skill set. He has a high skill set against Barnes, but a guy who can bring it with you, then you can see how great his skill set is. You can't really judge it by him going against Bums. I see him against Salido, and he was struggling because that was his first big challenge. Then he shut out Gary Russell Jr., and Gary Russell Jr. shut out Johnny Gonzalez, and you can see that he's pretty good. But other than that, he's just like now they're just on a hiatus. And they're going against bums, man. Like you can't credit him against. He's supposed to do what he's stopping them bums. That's what he's supposed to do. I can enjoy a sparring match, yeah, but this guy has been ranked as one of the best. And I think he is there, but he just needs to get into one of the big names. But I agree with you. What you need, he has high skill set, but to see how great he is, he has to mix it with quality opponents. So sorry to interrupt you, but there. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah. So I was saying that. That when I look in his very division, he does have people to fight. That's what I was trying to say. Lee Selby, like you said, is a fighter, but I don't know if he'll get that fight. But I think it's a gettable fight. I mean, I've seen is Lee Selby? Is he with
PBC?
Yeah,
he's a PBC.
No, not PBC. I mean, is he with what is his promoter? Matchroom, right?
No, I think he signed with PBC, didn't he?
It's Matchroom, man. Eddie Hearn.
Eddie Hearn, right? Yeah, so Eddie Hearn works with everybody, so he should be able to. He could get that fight. I mean, he's talking about Loma, and to your credit, everybody, I gotta agree. Nicholas Walters is a good matchup for him as well as Uriah, because I would love to see him against Walters. I would love to see him against Gamboa. All right, I would love to see him against Mariaga, like you guys are saying. I'm just saying that he does have to step it up, obviously. I just see like that he dealt with what was put in front of him, just like how Rigo's going to do what he has to do against this guy in Canada. The guy's a bum, but got to do what you got to do. You know, you got to get fights and you got to do something. So, you know.
Yeah, I mean, this is the frustrating thing about boxing is that the fights are out there. We want to see them, and it seems pretty obvious. But because of the promotion things, and sometimes it's money, or you know, all these different negotiations, we don't get to see all the fights that we want to see. But I mean, he's not on my pound for pound. But I think what's exciting about Lomachenko is his potential because of his skills. We see that potential that he could be one of those, you know, great fighters that we would like to watch.
Yeah, and I want to see Rigo get those big fights as well. You know.
Yeah, I agree.
I want to see that. I want to see that. You know. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Let's move on. I'm just going to open this up to everybody because I have not seen the full fight. But did anybody watch, I should say, the Providnikov bout?
Oh yeah.
It was an easy win coming in, and it proved that from what I read. If anybody saw it, please comment on it.
Man, it was. Anybody else saw it first?
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yep. It's a good scorcher. Classic Ruslan. It was a beatdown. It was intended to be a beatdown. There was nothing elegant about it. He was in. He did his damage. He got out. Four rounds done.
What I liked about that fight was Providnikov's face was, you know, it wasn't busted up. You know.
Yeah. Which you know that shows you what kind of guy he was up against. You're right. You know, for once he didn't take a whole lot of pounding.
I think Joel Diaz had something to do with that though. Because he was.
I agree.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, because you're right. Ruslan usually leads with his face, and he didn't do that for once. But he didn't have a huge challenge in front of him either.
True. Which is good. That's good practice to practice what you just learned, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because Ruslan has also been on the party circuit over the summer with his buddy Marcos Maidana and Adrian Broner. And so at least we know he got back into shape, at least somewhat. So hopefully that was a one-time party circuit for him and he gets back on track. I think he's got a little more discipline than those other guys do.
Okay, I'm going to open it up and go to the next fight because we're a little pressed for time. I'm going to try to have the shortest show as possible. I'm going to you on this one, EJ. I've heard you introduced me, you and the homie Boxing Beats and Rhymes, as well as my UK brother, Wingy has talked about Callum Smith for a while now. I first heard you and Beats talking about last year when I first was introduced to you and Beats, rising super middleweight. Well, he had a big fight over in Liverpool. Scored an exciting first round TKO over Rocky Fielding of a battle of undefeated fighters. I didn't know about Smith until you told me about him, but I've watched his last few fights. The more I see of him, the more I was impressed. Again, this was a one-round bout. Excuse me. It was a war. Both fighters I thought hurt each other, but Smith proved himself just to be too much at the end of the day. I'm gonna give the floor to you right now, and everybody else can chime in. Thoughts about Callum Smith? What made you so interested in him so long ago? What did you see?
Yeah, everyone's been touting this kid for a long while. He's one of the four brothers of the Smiths, and his younger brother won a world title just recently, a lightweight title. It's a light welterweight, 154 title over the guy from the Boxino tournament. And the Smith brothers are very talented, but Callum is the one that everyone's praising for. Is basically the fastest rising, tall for the weight, very good, just good at everything, you know. And this fight with Rocky Fielding was the Battle of Liverpool. And, you know, we expected to go longer rounds. He went in there and blew him out in the first round. Massive left hook. A counter left hook. Landing Rocky Fielding, Rocky from Stocky, that's over here in Liverpool, on the ground. And they just continued to just pummel him into the ground. And it was an impressive win for me. I was very shocked. And no way anyone thought that fight would be over in the first round. There's no way. Even though Rocky Fielding hasn't been tested, we're both undefeated as well. Callum Smith looks like the real deal, and now they're talking about a George Grove fight. They're talking about he's number one WBC in the light middleweight division. So he's number one for Badou Jack, and they fancy that fight. I think they're going to take their time with that fight, and maybe go against a European, try and get a European belt to solidify their standings. But he's definitely the real deal in terms of in the super middleweight division. But the thing about the super middleweight division is it's one of the most talented pool of fighters there. You got James DeGale, Arthur Abrams. A lot of people don't think he's a lot. I rate Arthur Abrams pretty highly. He's pretty good over there. Obviously Andre Ward's left the division. You got the Jarrell brothers; they're still there. Maybe Saka Bika might be around there. That'd be a good fight for him. So there's loads of fights he can face in the super. And obviously, yeah, like I said, the George Groves fight. They want that fight. Eddie Hearn wants that fight really badly. He wants that George Groves fight because he feels like Callum Smith can take over George Groves and be the next guy. But I'll tell you what, man, the James DeGale fight, I think they'll stay away from. They're already saying that fight could be easy made as well. But James DeGale's going to be fighting. He's fighting against. Who's he fighting against? He's going against Butte. So yeah, he's going to get Butte. So that fight there probably won't happen for now. But there's loads of options for Callum Smith, and that was very impressive. I'm glad you guys in the States got a chance to see him. He's not very often you see up and coming talent like that, but he's definitely one to watch out for. So that's my take.
I'm gonna open up with everybody else here. Your thoughts on the fight with Fielder and your overall impressions of Callum Smith. Your view of him as a boxer. I'm just gonna open it up for everybody. Anybody can respond.
Well, the usual discussion ensues about a guy like Callum Smith, who looks really, really impressive, and then everyone starts saying, well, look at the caliber of the opponents he's fought. How real are those skills? I think those skills are very real. They aren't tested. I'd love to see them tested, and with that sort of display, give him a chance to test those skills. I'd like to see what he can do. And it's not like that division has got a huge amount of talent. It's really being cleared out right now. The field's, playing field's pretty wide open. So, hey, if Callum Smith is willing to run in and seize it, go for it. I'd love to watch it.
What you need, Jacob, your thoughts on Callum Smith?
Well, I didn't get to see the fight. I saw the matchup. I saw the matchup and everything, but I didn't get to see the fight.
What I'll do is, what you need, I'll link you the fight after the show, or even during. But proceed.
Okay.
I mean, I've been following Callum Smith from when I saw him at an early prelim bout at the StubHub when I think it was the Kellbrook Porter fight. And again, his competition hasn't been all that, and but he looked good in the one round that he got the fight, and that he had a lot of supporters. But I mean, I think the thing to point out is when you have not so stellar competition, but you're able to get them out early in the fight, that's what you're supposed to do. I think where the questions come about is when your competition's not so great, everybody knows it, and then you carry them to a decision or late into the fight, and you're not doing what you should do to that kind of competition. So definitely excited to see this kid and have him step up, and there's a lot of good fights to be made up there.
I'm actually a follow-up. How would you compare Smith to the rising super middleweight here in the U.S., Mexico, Gilberto Ramirez? This follow-up for you, Jacob, yeah.
Ramirez, he's another one. He was supposed to fight James DeGale actually for the belt, but they put Jarrell in there. He's another one. That would be a very good matchup. I wouldn't mind seeing that, man. He's a top-ranked fighter as well. I see him as well. He looks good. The middleweight, the super division is always like, it's not like like the welterweight division, but he's got some good talent in there. But most of the talent is European. It's our division actually. The Europeans actually run that division. It's always got a constant European champion in that division. So the Ramirez fight, I'd be interested to see that fight. They're both tall and that. But I think Callum Smith at the minute, I favour Callum Smith right now. But maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Maybe.
That is, that really is true. It is a heavy European division. That's funny that way that stuff goes. You know, the discussion I've heard about Smith is possibly setting him up to fight Badou Jack, who is one of Mayweather's fighters, probably Mayweather Promotions' best fighter, as a matter of fact. You know, the other guy floating around there is the guy that Jack beat, George Groves, and Groves has expressed interest, and that's a, you know, all British fight. What the heck? That sounds like a good matchup for his next outing.
Yeah, Groves doesn't want to fight him. Groves, like Callum wants to fight him, but Groves doesn't want to fight him.
Oh yeah. Well, he's not stupid. I think it would be tough for him, especially given that he can do that well against Jack.
But he's number one mandatory for WBC for Jack. But like I think Eddie's just gonna have him quite a couple of fights before that. But I think if they fight the Badou Jack now, Badou Jack's a bit more seasoned, so they're trying to give him a bit more seasoning for that fight.
Yeah, I could see that, and and I think fair enough. That fight's going to come. You know, the other guy that's in that division that they, could in theory mess with is Anthony Durrell. So
yep,
possibility.
I think you should leave that alone, man. That's a bit too much. I think that's a bit too far. Yeah.
But Eddie plays very nicely with Al Heyman, so it's doable.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's move on and talk about the news. Big news broke today. Since I was off today, I was able to scour the internet, scour Twitter, and I got from a guy who follows me a tip that there was talk of Guillermo Rigondeaux. I still say he's the 122-pound king. May be striking a deal with Roc Nation Sports, and a couple of boxing sites broke the news this afternoon that indeed that Rigo is very close to inking a deal with Roc Nation. And Rigo, from what I heard, he was supposed to fight in December. With the inking of this deal, now it seems that he will fight on the Cotto Canelo undercard a week from Saturday. Yeah, replacing Andre Ward. Thank you. What you need. So again, I'm gonna just open it up here. The deal, the impending deal between Roc Nation and Guillermo Rigondeaux. What do you think of it? And what do you think that Roc Nation could do for Rigondeaux, who has been on the shelf, not been fighting, had promotional problems really throughout his whole career? Rigondeaux and Roc Nation. What do you think? And this is for everybody.
Well, word is that they're going to put Rigo on the Cotto Canelo undercard, believe it or not, 10 days from now. And I don't know who they're going to put him in with. I assume they'll yank some kid out of the Golden Boy stable to give him a fight.
Give me a quick second. I can look it up while you're talking.
Yeah, I know that seems to have broken in the last couple hours. So not a bad thing to do. I mean, if he's in good enough shape to jump right in there, they need to pad that undercard, because they were counting on Andre Ward's return to be the other big undercard fight, and that's off. So they really have been looking for a good substitute and had trouble finding it. So this could work out nicely for them if it comes to pass.
Yeah, he's another one. He needs to step up as well, Rico. He ain't active. The last time he fought was that Japanese guy who messed up the guy's overs. He's another one who used to fight some competition. He needs to step up and fight some competition, You can't be doing like Rico was up there like number 3 with me, pound and then like you can't be doing pound number 3 and they strip you of your belt and you're not even bothered. You do something, go buy it and fight something, try and get them big names. I don't see Rigo turn up at fights, demanding fights, like the old timers, So Rigo needs to do something like a buy as well. Right. But the Roc Nation, if he goes at a Roc Nation, that he's gonna get a lot of money, and that Cuban guy, he'll be happy about it. But Rigo, the Donaire fight, beating Donaire and Rico Ramos, a bit more than that, man. He needs to do more, man.
Well, he has fought. At one, his last fight was on December 31st of 2014, right? So he has had not a single fight in calendar year 2015, and I'm sure he doesn't want to let the year go by before he gets at least one fight. So, be interesting to see if they really can, hurry up and make a fight for him by next weekend. Going to be a quick turnaround if they do it.
What you need? Your thoughts on this?
On Rigo?
Yeah, and the deal with Roc Nation, and what do you think that could do for him in his career?
Well, I think it could do a lot. He's right now. Does he have any titles? I think he's a WBA champion in recess or something like that. So maybe that can work out in his favor in terms of getting a matchup that could probably get him reinstated for a title. Maybe with Donaire, who knows? It could be a Rigo Donaire too. So I mean, it's just thoughts in my mind about many different things could have happened. Because when they last interviewed Donaire, he said he was trying to be the mandatory to face Rigo, but he ends up being the guy who's fighting for the WBO title. So, I think Donaire wouldn't have a problem fighting Rigo again, but I don't know if Top Rank would be interested in that or what. But that's a nice rematch.
Call me conspiratorial, but it seems like Top Rank would be more willing to have Rigo in there with Lomachenko because they think that Rigo's a bit old. It would be easier to put him in almost as a sacrificial lamb for Lomachenko than he would against a rematch with Donaire.
True. I can see that. But I'm just saying that's one possibility. With Roc Nation, he's now has people can have eyes on him, and then he has a group that may be interested in him. He gets more money, and they really push him to get fights. Of course, Roc Nation, they want the name as well, so it works for them. So hopefully he can get a deal like Cotto, not as much, but a deal like Cotto, where he could match up with. I don't think he'll be able to. I don't know. We'll see if he could match up with Quigg or Frampton. I think that's kind of out of the window because Roc Nation's kind of the other side of the fence.
That fight can happen. Eddie Hearn's good with that. That could happen. That's what I'm talking about. And Santa Cruz and the Morris.
Right,
that's what's up right there. That you put it right there. That's what needs to be happening, man.
But the problem is, EJ, those guys have ducked Rigo. He's been calling Quigg out. He's been calling Frampton out. He's been calling Santa Cruz out, and they wanted none of them.
Yeah.
You saw him. Listen. People didn't thought Mayweather and Pacquiao could happen ever, right? I'm telling you, any fight is possible, but you have to go and make it. Mayweather met Pacquiao in the basketball court. That was it. That's all it was. If Rigo steps out from his comfort zone and goes ringside, and that's all it took. I remember Danny Garcia and Lucas Matisse. Danny Garcia went to watch his fight. The imagination of the crowd, they will demand it. Rigo's not doing enough. Like he's saying it. I don't even know what he's saying because I don't even speak Spanish. I don't see much of his Twitter feed. I'm not trying to be rude or nothing, but it would help if he went down to some of these ringside fights and talk and go. I remember what's his name again? What's the American Dream? Lara.
Lara. Yeah.
He went to his press conference, man. That's what he said, man. That's
Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas crashed Timothy Bradley's one.
Yes,
there
he
you
did.
go. There you go. That's how you make it. The old time Jack Johnson did that. When he wanted to fight with Tommy Burns, and everyone, Muhammad Ali done it. That's what you do. It's not good enough to stay with words on Twitter. That's not good enough for me. And we don't even know you.
What happens if Frampton beats Quigg though? Eddie Hearn won't have any say in that.
No. They want to make they want Rigo after. They said they want Rigo after, but they're just saying it. I don't know. They might have a rematch.
Right.
You never know. They might fight. But the bottom line is, if I was Rigo, that's a massive fight over here in the UK. Big money fight in your division.
Go across to the UK.
Yeah, thank you. Pack your bags and come over to ringside, take ringside, and I say, and come in the ring after. I want the winner, and that, you know what I'm saying. And that's what people want to see Rigo. So I'm not giving Rigo a pass. Or no, I'm giving Lomachenko either until they step up. I'll be riding them because they're better than what they are, and they can do more than what they're doing. That's my.
What I found on the Rigo update is that Roc Nation is in the process of getting an opponent approved by the Nevada State Athletic Commission before they announced. So may hear something tomorrow. We'll see. And they better hustle it up because it's a week away.
Yeah, that was the surprising thing that he's going to fight on that undercard. But
Yeah.
I hear Rigo, he keeps himself in fantastic shape, in spite of the fact that he's a smoker. He's
Oh
a
yeah,
cigarette
he be training all the time. You can get
That's a Cuban for you.
Yeah, but yeah, as long as it gets him fights and it can make him, he can make some money. That's all I care about, because he's too talented to be sitting on the shelf, basically getting old, fighting nobody. He's just too talented. He needs to get in the ring and fight somebody. I don't care who it is at this point.
Rigo's got that Caribbean mentality. Just chills, man. Rigo's just chills. But when he gets in the ring, he's all business. But he's not bothered either way. Like Rigo's he just seems like he's not bothered. Us fans are more anxious and more, oh, Rigo get in there. But he's always just chilling, man. He's not bothered by anything, is he? But
Right.
They were trying to get the Lomachenko fight though this year.
He wasn't trying hard. Rigo don't.
I think what happened, because they fought two bums last year, right? Amagasa and the other dude. So he was like, all right, let me step up now and let's have a big fight. But it didn't work. It didn't work out.
Yeah, fighting bums, man. You don't get no passes fighting. Andre Ward ain't getting no pass. He wanted to fight the bum. He wanted to fight some bum the other day as well. He's another one as well. He's been active in court cases, another one, and look what he did. There, you gotta get Paul Smith, fair enough. Now you want to fight another bum. He's another one who needs to get terrorized as well. The whole box needs a whole haul. You need to change all of them and bring some new fresh blood in. These guys don't want to fight no more. I'm glad Triple G's around them and some of these dudes, man. They don't want to fight, man.
No
I think it's you have to have tune-up fights for some of these guys. So not everybody's Oscar De La Hoya or whatever, So I see it as part of the fight game. I don't. If they fight a whole string of bums, now I have a problem. But
They do. That's what they're doing though. What you need, they're fighting the bum squad. Like Andre Ward is so talented, yeah, that he can't fight a bum. It's murder. It's like actually murder when he fights a bum. It's like, you know what I'm saying?
You think when Wilder says bomb squad, he's talking about that?
He's talking about the bum squad. The bum
That's what we love having him on the show.
I'm just joking.
You know, it's frustrating. It's frustrating me, So I'm a bit frustrated with some of the things. The PBC is good. It's keeping boxing, but these HBO and Showtime cards, they're just mismatches, man. And the commentators, they biased as well with this. It's bad. But it's not that, I love boxing and that. So hopefully some other fight. I'm good. The Canelo and Cotto fight's there for us, so we're all right.
Right.
That's a great fight. That's a great fight. I love the both guys. I don't know who's gonna win still.
We'll have to discuss that next week.
Yeah, that's right. I got Canelo though, but yeah, we can get into more depth.
I'm gonna end with this because I refuse to talk about that Mayweather Broner dust up because for reasons.
That's all right.
I'm not getting into that, and I'll tell you after the show, EJ, why.
But I will go to on your own show.
Yeah, I will ask you about this. Is this rumor about Froch thinking about coming out of retirement? Is it worth taking seriously?
See him. He likes playing around with the media. This was the media. When the media's not talking about him, he says certain things like that to get back in. He's still thinking about the Golovkin fight. Listen, Carl, yeah, he could have fought Golovkin when he was a world champion, and that fight could happen. All he wanted to do is fight Chavez and go into the sunshine. He just wants to put his name in the paper. Like, if he comes back, he doesn't come back. Like, until he signs paper and comes back. But Eddie Hearn said potentially he could come back, but the only fight he'll come back for is the Golovkin fight. But the thing is, yeah, he said Golovkin maximum weight is 168. Carl Froch said he can't make 168 no more. So he said he's putting a lot of muscle mass. You don't feel like he can make it. So the potential of that fight is happening is slim to none. You retired, stay retired. If you go in there with Golovkin right now, right now as it stands, I'm gonna favor Golovkin. That's the way right now I favor Golovkin because you're retired and your chin's not that good either. So until he comes out, it's like David Hay as well. Until they put pen to paper, then don't even sweat it, man. Just
I agree. You got a good commentating gig. You're on. You got all the money you need. you don't need to. You don't even need to go there. Hey, and Carl has said in the past, you know, you'd be an absolute idiot to get in with a guy who hits that hard as Golovkin. You know, he was one of the few that was really honest about, you know, you don't want none of that. I'm just telling you, you don't want none of that. And, you know, I'd have to be an idiot to want to get in there. So you're absolutely right. But it does crack me up that Eddie Hearn is absolutely willing to aid and abet whatever Carl has to say. It's like, oh yeah, well, you know, I mean, well, if it was going to happen, then they would be for him. And yeah, he knows it ain't going to happen, but he'll play along. I love it.
Yeah, I think we're going to start shutting the show down on that note. I want to thank Jacob. I want to thank Sean for joining us earlier, as well as Dill for joining us on the show earlier. I'm going to go around here. Ask where folks can find if they want to talk boxing and whatnot. Ladies first, Gail Falkenthal, Community's Digital News, for folks who want to talk boxing, Game of Thrones, Dancing with the Stars. Let the folks know where they can find you.
Community Digital News is the place where I write, which is COM, C-O-M-M, Digi, D-I-G-I News, COM Digi News. We also have accounts on Twitter. And I'm on Twitter personally at PR San Diego, and I put up a YouTube something or other every once in a while.
I'm going to go to you, What You Need. Join us live from Trinidad. For folks who want to talk boxing or anything else, let the folks know where they can find you. And give some props to your new to your fight features, your video features that you're doing.
Oh, cool. I'm What You Need. As you can see, it is WATTUNEED, and you can find me on YouTube. And we do a whole bunch of different videos on there, and we also give props out to different people, pound for pound, EJ Boxing Live, Gales, Digi Boxing Channel, and we are looking to network with everybody and every person. So that's it.
Even those unprofessional bloggers.
Unprofessional bloggers, if they make money, sure.
I like the way you think, man. Everyone's money is green, baby.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely. One of my UK boxing brothers, EJ Boxing Live. For folks who want to talk boxing or Game of Thrones, let the folks know where they can hit you up.
Yeah, EJ Boxing Live on Twitter, EJ Boxing Live on YouTube. So, you can hit me up there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Looks like you joined us, Boxing Phenom. Unmute your mic first off. Looks like you joined us late. We get right to end the show. Unmute your mic. I'm gonna ask you some quick questions here. Thanks for joining us and whatnot. But I'm gonna give you an opportunity to talk here. Your thoughts quickly on the Tim Bradley bout as well as the Vasyl Lomachenko bout.
I only saw the got a chance. First off, thanks for having me. But I only got a chance to see the Tim Bradley fight.
Your thoughts on it. Your thoughts on one more time.
Very impressive. I think Teddy Atlas and him will be a great fit, and I think they're going to do big things in the future. But he had a very good performance.
Yeah, you need to join us early next time. I know you are friends with What You Need. You need to join us early on the show because we're about to end, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we're about to shut things down. So next week, if you want to join early on the show so you can have more opportunity to talk boxing and whatnot. So, but thanks for joining us while you were here for that little bit. But again, next week or whatever, just join us early next time, brother. For folks who want to talk boxing with me and whatnot, y'all know what it is. Brother JR76 on Twitter. If you want to find out more about the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, go to the blog page, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. Just look to the right of the page, to the right of the blog page. You can find links to find us all over social media, all over the internet, all over interwebs, Automatic, Facebook, Tumblr, YouTube, Twitter, G+, Pinterest, RSS feed, the email address, Stitcher Radio, as well as the link to the Flipboard magazine. Next week, all talk, all discussion, big time preview of Canelo Alvarez, Miguel Cotto for Cotto's middleweight title. We will do a full, in-depth preview of that. Also on the undercard of that, Takashi Miura. He's making his debut bout, defending his junior lightweight champion, Miura's from Japan. Also on that weekend, a rematch between Darlis Perez and Anthony Crolla in Manchester. Arthur Abraham also that weekend, who's going to be fighting Martin Murray in Germany. So we'll talk about all of those bouts. Again, like I said, no previews this weekend because no big time bouts this weekend. So that's why I didn't do any previews and whatnot. But next week, all Cotto, all Canelo, as well as all the boxing that's happening this weekend. So this has been episode 103 of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. For Gail Falkenthaler Communities Digital News, for EJ Boxing Live, What You Need, Boxing Phenom 95, as well as Jay Dill, Sean Newton, Jacob Rivera, who joined us early in the show. I'm your host, Michael. Again, episode 103 of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. You guys have a good evening. Good night.
Night.
All right.